Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today. I feel alive again. We're talking about Fallout. Now, I need to apologize at the start of this video. I have been sent Fallout London content for weeks now. Matty, check it out. Matty, please take a look. Matty, please make a video. I want to say my deepest and most sincere apologies for two reasons. One, I shouldn't have been this late on this. Number two, I gotta be real. My Fallout Americana elitism got the best of me, and I just, at face value, I was feeling so close-minded. I was like, Fallout in London, that just doesn't sound right. So what I did today is I took some time, I opened my mind, I admitted my ignorance, and I said, let me give Fallout London a look. Because I'm very much rooted in, I think the Americana vibe for Fallout is the way to go. But today we're talking about Fallout London. For those who don't know what this is a gigantic game-sized mod coming to Fallout 4. And oh my God, wow, this looks really good. I wanted to dedicate a whole video just sitting down, talking about it with all of you, spreading some awareness for the game. If you want to learn more about it, I'll have some links in the description down below. Where do I get started? I think I need to continue on this ignorance train, right? Many of you are there on board with me. I'm just the one saying it out loud. But Fallout has always been defined by its Americana vibe, right? The Vault Tech advertisements, the 50s clothing design, the music on the radio. You know what I'm talking about, right? This was Fallout's DNA, and it's always been set on the east and west coast of the United States. And a lot of people, I remember especially during the Fallout 4 days, a lot of debate was had about bringing Fallout to other areas of the world. And I specifically remember making a video talking about a Fallout game set in China because there was in Fallout 4 this submarine that you could enter for one of the side quests that was like a spy boat from China. And we were speculating on the idea of it actually being an expansion that was in development. And that was like a little teaser within the game. That was not the case, but I remember when I made that video talking about that, a lot of people were very against this idea. And allow me to be the one to enlighten you all. It's all gonna be okay. Because what the Fallout London team is doing here has made me very open to the idea of Fallout becoming a worldwide series. I think I'll always have the preference of Americana, but what they're doing here is really refreshing because with Fallout, the expectations are kind of set of what you're going to get, right? United States, Americana vibe, what city are we gonna be in? But now with London, you're separated from all the lore, all the technology, and what the modders have had to do is effectively reinvent Fallout 4. And I love what they've done. So an example is when you're doing your character creation, you remember the Vault Boy? He's always there flexing, winking at the camera, all that stuff. Gone. See you later. Instead, it's this blank white figure who's got all these smooth animations because there's not Vault Tech. There's this angel-like corporation that's there, and they're doing tests on you. They're scientists taking a look at you. And as you're creating your character, I'm seeing all these different things. The HUD by default is white, not green. Little things here, but it creates a vibe that is still very Fallout in its presentation, but its execution, of course, through its lore, is not that. Even down to the Pip-Boy. It's kind of this, if you will, tablet that you hold in your hand rather than this thing on your wrist. So to me, the reinvention of the lore is something that I thought was really refreshing. I liked it a lot. And if you look at some of the past Fallout games being 4 and 76, I feel like, yeah, maybe we got into a bit of a routine, and that's not a bad thing. The series has an identity, but Fallout London looks to really shake that up. Of course, we can't talk about just the lore, we gotta talk about the setting, which I think is the defining characteristic of a Fallout game. I think about it a lot like, say, Assassin's Creed. I know that may be a funny comparison to some of you out there, but to me, the best and biggest character in any Assassin's Creed game is its world. To me, it's always been history, the video game. And I know for some diehard Assassin's Creed fans, that's like a horrendous take, but just hear me out. Like whether you're in Italy, the American Revolution, so on and so forth, the setting, I think, defines everything that's around it. It defines the content, the characters that appear. It's the most important part of the game. And I feel very much the same about Fallout. What new factions you interact with, what choices you're gonna make, how you're going to impact people, the weapons you're gonna find, the technology you're gonna interact with is all depicted by the setting. So putting it in London is also another important factor, because the other aspect I didn't mention is landmarks. My favorite thing, starting with Fallout 3 and then going back to the old Fallout games, playing New Vegas, was seeing landmarks that I had maybe not seen in person, but I was familiar with through history books, through pictures and videos online, and then seeing them outright destroyed. So seeing Big Ben, seeing the London Bridge, all this destroyed and reconstructed as a great Fallout game does, right? Is seeing the landmarks that you know and love destroyed, reconstructed into fortresses, bases for raiders, so on and so forth, was awesome. I really like what they're doing with the setting here, because it gives birth to new, unique factions. So there were these characters that had armor on them with like claymore blades. And I went, oh, that's cool, man. I want more of that type of stuff, right? I'm a sci-fi geek through and through, as many of you know, so I'm always about the cool technology, and they do put some of that on display here. But when it comes to nice claymore with that kind of Templar style armor, oh, I'm all over that. I love to see that. And admittedly, part of my hesitation to talk about this was I was feeling a little gun shy after what happened with Fallout the Frontier, right? This was a huge New Vegas mod, very, very exciting. There was a lot of terrible content within it, and you know, it was just getting involved in now covering that, and it became this additional headache. And I know YouTube loves drama, so the videos did well, but this was something that I was like, do I want to get invested in another big mod? But I thought, you know, I talk about Skyblivion, I give the Skyrim mods a lot of my energy, and I feel like I'm not doing that for the Fallout community like I used to. I don't really talk much about the Fallout 4 Capital Wasteland mod either, and I want to get back into that because this is what Bethesda Game Studios games are about. For those of you who are watching this channel, maybe you discovered me through Starfield, and you've heard me mention a lot in videos about the exciting modding potential of Starfield. Fallout London is just another example as to why. And they're recreating a whole-on game, but now in Starfield, you'll have worlds that can host these games because of how big they are. And that's what's tremendously exciting about it. So to me, I feel like it should be my job to not get gun shy here and to introduce you all to excellent mods that probably most of you, again, at this point, have already heard of, since so many of you were sending me Fallout London content. It has over 2 million views on its gameplay. And I mean, what a great debut, right? 2+ million views. What a showcase. All the systems. I mean, right when you're exiting this scientific testing chamber, I'm always like, your brain's so wired to being used to seeing certain things. I'm like, oh, vault tech, right? No, this isn't a vault. There aren't vaults. What? It's like, wait. This is changing everything up. And I love that. I love that feeling of my expectations being subverted. And I felt like, you know what? It's time to really start pushing these mods forward on my channel more and more. So I was really excited by what I saw with Fallout London, especially because one thing that modders do really well that I wish Bethesda Game Studios did, and maybe with Starfield they'll do this, is creating more interesting missions. So one thing we see inside Fallout London is you're on this boat, and the boat's riding down water, and you're kind of like shooting out the back of the boat. It's just this, granted, a shoot 'em up mission, but because you're in a vehicle and it's moving around a level, there's a better feeling to it than what you do with most Fallout or really Bethesda games, which is just clear dungeons. And there's great storytelling within them, but variety in its approach to combat would be much appreciated, and it looks like they're doing that here. Also, the approach to like fast travel changes. There's a bike. I saw this and I popped. I was sitting here in my office by myself and I saw the bike. It was like, oh, like that's how much of a nerd I am. I swear to God, I was like, wow, Fallout and bikes. Any other series, this would be the most unamusing thing. But I'm like, wait, they got bikes. Okay. This is something as well that I remember being really excited about with Fallout Frontier, was they had vehicle controls in there. And if you look at the old BGS engines, man, making vehicle controls in there, there's a reason why even the horses felt terrible. It's because it really wasn't built too well for that type of stuff. To see something like a bicycle is pretty significant in the original Creation Engine, if you will, right? Because now we've moved on to Creation Engine 2. They've created a whole new animation system, so it looks like This will be a thing of the past, hopefully, and we can really evolve what a Bethesda Game Studios game is. But when I take a look at Fallout London, it's amazing to see some of the steps forward they've made. Because, of course, as a new Fallout game-sized mod, it's going to offer some of the bells and whistles you're familiar with. New armor, new weapons, new quests, and that's all great. But the fact that it's like a game-sized mod is what's so tremendously exciting. So I just wanted to expose you all to this as someone who was sitting there a little closed-minded in my Americana ways. I feel like this was enlightening to see, and I was like, wow, you can really rethink Fallout, a formula I was perhaps attached too closely to. So shout out to the Fallout London team for just kind of giving me an awakening, if you will. The mod looks excellent. And the last thing you're probably wondering, when's this thing coming? Because another reason at times I was hesitant to cover mods is you get like invested in, hey, this is the next big thing, whoa, check it out. And it feels like it never comes out. That's why Fallout the Frontier was such a momentous occasion, because this project that was in development since, I remember I made a video on it in 2014 and it finally came out. It was years upon years in development. And that's the thing with these big size mods, is usually they fall off. And slowly we're starting to see them be completed. Love it or hate it, Fallout the Frontier was completed. It looks like Sky Oblivion will be completed. And Fallout London looks to be completed and shipping in 2023. Now, when they were doing the date at the end, like 202, I was like, please put a 2, please put a 2. And then they put a 3, and I was like, oh, because there's so many games coming out. So many games. I'm just like, oh my God, now I got to find a way to play a full-on Fallout game. And, you know, it's voiced. There's voice actors all over the place. Like right away, you can hear in the gameplay trailer that there are people doing these character voiceovers, which is great for immersion. Sometimes you'd have silence with text, especially in the early Fallout mods. It's not a thing here. So yeah, just Fallout London looks like a Fallout game I never really dreamed of, but is sort of like a dream come true. And the reason I say that is because Fallout London is a game that normally I'd be very closed off to. I mean, don't get me wrong, like if I think Bethesda Game Studios were to have made a Fallout London or international Fallout style game, I wouldn't immediately be like, like that. I would still give it a look, but this is one that I just, you know, I really feel like learning that it could work in this setting really is a dream come true, because now I'm like the possibilities. And one thing I really hammer hard on is Fallout's lacking of multimedia expansion. And I think part of that is its rigidness, right? Its lack of ability to think beyond what it is and become something else like Fallout London showing, but also comics, books. The fact that there isn't a Fallout book, I know there's that New Vegas one or whatever, but you can't even really find it online. But the fact that there isn't like a Fallout book is mind-boggling to me. Like even a non-canon book just to treat fans to new Fallout content, the fact that that's not even there is insane to me, just because of the room for exploration with states and cities. And now with Fallout London, I'm thinking internationally. It's like, what can we do? So I really, my biggest hope and prayer is just on a general level with Fallout, separate from this mod, that Bethesda wakes up and starts expanding it into books, into comics, because that would be incredible. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I've got for you in today's video. Fallout London looks fantastic. Shout out to the hardworking modders making this thing happen. It looks great. And apologies again, really. I know no one needed me to name and shame myself, but I need to hold myself accountable. So that's how I roll. So shout out to the modders for doing it right, doing a great job here, and I'm looking forward to the final release. With that, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of Fallout London? Fire away in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.